Greetings and salutations, humans. Welcome to the channel. This is your host, Putinbot. And today I'm going to be showing y'all the 6 champions that I use primarily as ride or dies on my account when it comes to controlling the enemy, controlling enemy waves, and keeping my teams alive. If you've been playing Raid Shadow Legends for any amount of time, you'll learn pretty doggone quick that you can't out DPS enemy waves, that you have to have a way of controlling them, and then you got to have a way to sustain your teams or bad things happen. Bad things being that your run's going to fail and you end up wasting energy, you're going to end up wasting time, you're going to end up wasting resources. It just ends up creating a really bad experience for you with the game. And so tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the champions that I use, and I'm going to explain how it is that I use them, why I use them, and why if you have these champions, I'm going to recommend that you invest in them. First and foremost, I'm going to go with Contra the Cyclone. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that Contra was the very first legendary champion that I ever got. I actually ended up doing the fusion for her back when she was released. I think it was in 2020, December of 2020, if memory serves. Contra is actually pretty easy to build. I'm going to go over her kit, I'm going to show you how she works, and then we'll move on to the next champion on our list. So first and foremost, she is a defensive-based champion, and so what that means is that her defense is what allows her to do damage. Her defense, of course, is also the stat that helps keep her alive. So her skills, let's start with her aura. She has an increased accuracy in all battles by 60, which is fantastic. Her A1, Bane Hatchet, has a 60% chance of stealing an enemy buff whenever she's booked. And her A2 attacks all enemies 3 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing one of the following debuffs for 2 turns. Block buffs, 50% decrease attack, 30% decrease speed, 25% weaken, a 50% decrease accuracy debuff, or a 100% heal reduction debuff. And that books up to 75%. And then we'll go over into her passive. Her passive is what makes her really good. I was a big fan of Contra before the Hydra boss was ever a thing, before you're able to start to provoke one of the Hydra heads. Her passive, No Escape. Decrease each enemy's accuracy by 10 for each debuff they're under. This champion will receive 4% less damage for each debuff on the attacker. Heals this champion by 1,250 hit points each time the debuff expires on an enemy. Has a 75% chance of placing a provoked debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs at the start of this champion's turn. The best part is, Contra can place debuffs on weak hits. She's Force Affinity. So if she's going against a Spirit Wave or a Spirit Boss, her A2 will still work against that enemy. Another really good thing about her passive, most people don't realize this, it happens at the start of her turn. So what that means is, it doesn't matter if Contra is CC'd herself. It doesn't matter if she's frozen. It doesn't matter if she's provoked. It doesn't matter if she's stunned. I mean, it doesn't matter if she's under a sleep. It doesn't matter. At the start of her turn, if there's an enemy under 5 or more debuffs, she has a chance of letting that provoke, which is fantastic. As you can see with my Contra, I've got her in 2 speed sets. I've got her in a cruel defense chest. As soon as I'm able to get this replaced with a speed defense chest, that's what I'm going to do. Just go ahead and show you the stats I've got for Contra. Her defense is just under 6k. Her accuracy is 298. Her crit rate is non-existent. Her crit damage, whenever she does crit, is 98%. Now, you can build Contra out for damage. That's not how I have her built, though. I've got my Contra built to be able to take a hit, and I've got her built to be a just absolute tank to maximize sustain. The next champion on the list I'm going to be going to is right here next to her, Yumiko. This is my newest legendary champion that I have pulled. She's a Void Legendary. If you have her, congratulations. In my opinion, she is the most powerful champion in the game. She's strong without being broken strong, which is what I like about her. With Yumiko, you want to prioritize speed, you want to prioritize accuracy, and you want to prioritize health. Basically, you just want to keep her alive. She's a lot like Contra in that she is a control-based champion. While Contra depends on her passive land provokes, Yumiko just goes right in, and she's all about this Dance of Time ability, where she decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 3 turns, and increases the cooldown of all enemy skills by 3 turns. Now, I like running with Contra. These two work really well together, and this is why. Destiny's Mirror attacks one enemy, has an 80% chance of placing a Hex debuff for 3 turns. That books up to 100%. Whenever an enemy tries to place debuffs on either this champion or an ally, has a 55% chance. It books up to 75. Use Sniper, go up to 80, and it will reflect those debuffs to the target enemy. So the synergy between Contra and Yumiko is that, say for example, if you're in Doom Tower, and if you want to control Mortu Macabre so he can't just one-shot people in your team so you can't res them, put Destiny's Mirror on Mortu Macabre. When the enemy starts trying to debuff you, those debuffs are going to be sent back, are going to be deflected over to Mortu. Contra's passive kicks in, you lock him down. It is an absolute thing of beauty. I love it. Her A1 is no slouch either. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit steals 7.5% of the target's turn meter if she has 50% hit points or more. So basically, like against Fire Knight, she smacks the Fire Knight. She's stealing 15% of that turn meter, and you're golden. Her aura, just like Contra's, increases ally accuracy in all battles by 60. And then her passive, Yumiko has a built-in immunity set. Places a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns at the start of each round. This champion is immune to all debuffs if they are under Veil or Perfect Veil. Now, Yumiko does have some synergy with Karato Fox Hunter. I don't have him, so that's why I'm not going over that part of her kit. That said, you don't need that to make her just an absolute god tier champion. She is 100% fantastic. If you have her, I can guarantee you, if you're anything like me, you're running Yumiko anywhere. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you're playing anywhere Raid Shadow Legends, most likely Yumiko is in the team with you. Let me go ahead and show y'all the total stats I have on my Yumiko. I've got her going at 293 speed. I want to get her over 300. Right now I just don't have the gear for it. Her accuracy is 422. That's good enough where I am in the arena. She is an arena control champion that I'm running. And one thing that you're going to notice while I'm going down this list, I'm a big fan of champions that disrupt the enemy. That's right. Doesn't matter if it's in the arena. It doesn't matter if it's in a dungeon. Doesn't matter if it's in Doom Tower. I want to prevent them from doing what they want to do. And Yumiko is god tier when it comes to making that happen. Her defense is 4,375. Her hit points is 48,229. Next up on the list is another Void Legendary champion. This is actually the very first Void Legendary I ever pulled. This is Blind Seer. She is a fantastic champion. I've got Blind Seer in one piece of Immortal, as y'all see here. And then she's in broken sets. With your Blind Seer, if you have her, what you want to do is that you want to prioritize speed, defense, and health. And I'm going to show you why right now whenever I go over her kit. Her A1 attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 30% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 15%. And then that will buff up to her A2 is what I love most about Blind Seer. Places a block debuff on all allies for 2 turns. Then places a shield buff on all allies for equal to 30% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. That's why if you have Blind Seer, you want to make her going quick, and you want to build her with as much health and defense as you can, And I already hear you right now, you're going to be asking, PutinBot, why is it that I need defense in my Blind Seer? If I stack her with health, she has a shield, that's going to be enough, right? The answer is no. It's because of her res. Self-sacrifice. Revives all dead allies to 35% HP. Places a block damage buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. So everyone else has that block damage except for Blind Seer. So that means during that turn, she's going to be one doing the tanking. So she has to be able to take a hit or she is going to fall over. So you want to prioritize, again, speed, health, and defense on your Blind Seer. She also has a very good aura. Increase allied defense in all battles by 34%. She's also, like I said, she is the fastest champion in the game with a base speed of 115. Makes it easy to build her out. I mean, she's just a great all the way around champion. If you have her, again, congratulations. She is top tier for support. Is she as strong as Yumiko is? No. There's not a champion in the game, in my opinion, that is as powerful as Yumiko is. She excels in what she does. That said, Blind Seer helps keep your team alive by blocking debuffs coming onto your team. She also has that shield that just helps you sustain. And if you're running 2 squishy attack champions, like I'm about to show you now to finish up this video, you're going to see why Blind Seer is in pretty much every team that I have. Next up on the list is going to be Ninja. He was a limited edition champion. If you were not playing before October of last year, I apologize. You'll never get it. If you do have Ninja, you know how great he is. He is the best boss slayer in the game. And what's really fun about Ninja, if you pair him up with Yumiko, you're able to go in and you can just do this Hellburn repeatedly against bosses. What Hellburn does, for those of you who don't have him, he puts a hit point burn on an enemy, and then he instantly activates those hit point burns. Just deals a crap ton of damage. Then you go with Cyan Slash, and then what that does, it decreases the cooldown of Hellburn by 1 turn. So you can speed tune this. That way, Ninja goes in, he uses Hellburn, then Yumiko will go in, she'll reset Hellburn, he'll do it again, then you go with Cyan Slash, and then you can do Hellburn again, and you just obliterate a boss. Actually going to be 2 different epics. One is going to be Thylesia. In my opinion, Thylesia is the best defense down in the game if you are running a team that scales off of debuffs. If you're running Contra, Thylesia is absolutely fantastic. She has a decreased defense that's always up. And let me show you why it's always up. It's on a 2-turn, so attacks all enemies, places a 60% decreased defense buff for 2 turns. Then you look at her A2. Attacks all enemies, increases the duration of all debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn. So you go in, you do the defense down, then you follow up with the A2, you're extending that debuff, it's always up, it's never going to go down, and you're extending the duration of every debuff that's on the enemy team. If you have Contra, it's absolutely freaking broken. Because you're stacking up so many debuffs, you're just getting Contra's passive more and more and more of an opportunity to work, to be able to control the enemy teams. That way they're swinging on her, and it just works really well. Then her A1 attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking 1 random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies under a hex debuff. And the hex comes in from her passive. When attacking enemies under decreased defense debuffs, has a 50% chance of placing a hex debuff on them for 2 turns. Now, a word of warning. If you happen to have Yumiko and Thylesia, if you're depending on Yumiko using her A2, you're going to run into some problems because Thylesia's A1, when she spreads debuffs, she actually takes ownership of the hex. So what that means is, if you're trying to use Destiny's Mirror to help you control one particular mob, you may want to consider a different defense down champion. Like maybe you'll consider a Deacon Armstrong or Tyrell or someone else, because those two skills will conflict with each other. Show y'all Thylesia's total stats. I do have her in a stun set. I do use her for control. I've got her running at 223 speed, 359 accuracy. Her crit rate's 56%. I don't have her built for damage. I've got her built just to be tanky and going quick and be able to stay alive. Hit points is 35,000, and her defense is 3,159. Now, the last epic that we're going to talk about is Alika. Alika pairs incredibly well with Yumiko, and I'm going to explain to you why that is right now. Again, I like champions that are able to do control. It's easy to do DPS. It's harder to stay alive though whenever you're running nukers. Alika can actually do both. And let me show you how I run these two. With Yumiko, I like to open up with the A3, Dance of Time. I put the enemy skills on cooldown. Then what I do is I follow up with Alika, and I use this skill, Disorient. Attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance when booked of increasing the cooldown of all enemies by 1 turn. So Yumiko puts her skills on cooldown for 3 turns. Then Alika puts it on cooldown for 4. With Yumiko going as quick as I have her, typically she is ready to go back with her A3 once again before the enemy has a chance to recover. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying so hard to get Yumiko going over 300 speed. This skill paired with Yumiko is completely broken. If you have Basher, Basher can do the exact same thing for an extra turn. So, again, the name of the game when it comes to Raid Shadow Legends is control. Here's why, me personally, I prefer Alika over Basher. Basher can do some damage, but Alika is an absolute cannon. And so I like to run her to help me not only control waves, but to kill the enemy while I'm doing it. And she has 2 skills that lets me do this. High value target. It's on a 2-turn cooldown, so very quick. Attacks one enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense if their max HP is higher than this champion's max HP. Alika's max HP is very low. It's frankly a joke. So this pretty much always works. If you're running this with the defense down, I mean, you are just mauling the enemy. She's able to just, a lot of times, even in Doom Tower Hard, she can one-shot mobs. She hits like an absolute truck. Gap Shot. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing an extra hit. This hit is always critical. You're going to be building your Alika with a 100% crit rate, and that books up to 50%. So, I mean, she smacks. If you have Alika, does she take a lot of books? Yeah, she does. But if you need a nuker who can help you run some control, she works very well. If you don't have Yumiko, she also works very well with Basher. Have Basher go first, put the enemy skills on cooldown, then Alika is able to extend that by a turn, and then you can just you can recreate that cycle. If you have Alika, if you're running her in the arena, which is where I like to run her, go down to Helm Smasher. If you have 0 interest at all in running Alika in the arena and all you want to do is run her in PvE content, feel free to take War Master. So she's a cannon. She's an absolute nuke. Let me go ahead and show you the total stats I have on Alika. She's running at 222 accuracy. That is low for Doom Tower Hard. Whenever I am running her in there, I do put her into an accuracy banner, and I run an accuracy lead, depending on the team comp that I'm running. It's either going to be Contra, or it's going to be Yumiko. Those are the top champions that I run for control and DPS. I am almost always running 1 or 2 of them together, sometimes 3, but I can guarantee you in all the teams that I'm building in Raid Shadow Legends, depending on the dungeon or the Doom Tower content or the arena match that I'm in, it will be one of those champions that is in those teams that I'm leaning on to bring home the win. I hope that this is helpful. This is PutinBot. I will be heading out now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this content, press that subscribe button. I appreciate your support. Have a good one. Bye-bye.